Welcome to the latest edition of Dawg Talk podcast, the Indy Stars Butler basketball podcast. I am joined by our Butler insider, Akeem Glaspie. And Akeem, I wish we were here to talk about wins or a possible NCAA tournament bubble, even the bubble. I would take a bubble talk right now. Unfortunately, we're talking about 9 straight losses, and it doesn't get any easier with the Big East. So, easy question for you to start. What's wrong with Butler basketball?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. It's something I've asked Thad a lot, over this losing streak. And, there is no one simple answer, but I guess if I had to boil it down, it's just they're not playing well enough. They have zero margin for error. They basically have to play a perfect game to be competitive. And when things start to go bad, they really don't have the answers to kind of counteract any of the the poor play. They have to play perfect, and they haven't been. Jamil Telford he came into the season battling an ankle injury, and he tweaked his back. So their best player is playing at less than 100%. And if we saw from game number 1 when Jamil went off for 29 points that he basically has to play great for them to win. So anything less than greatness from Telford and Pierre Brooks gives Butler, it makes it very hard for them to win, and we haven't seen a lot of great play from anyone on the team in a little bit now.
I mean, you mentioned Telford and you mentioned Brooks. I mean, those are their 2 returning scorers from last year. They come back. I mean, I would assume Telford didn't come back to this team expecting this. He came back because he wanted to play in the NCAA tournament. He came back. I mean, these are 2 guys who are second team all Big East in the preseason, right? So like everyone knows their quality. Yet this team as a whole has regressed, and they've added some nice pieces. Like Patrick McCaffrey's had a good start to his Butler career. They'll slow down a little bit, but still a useful piece. So why have they regressed? Especially when we saw in Arizona at the Arizona tip-off where it looked like they were putting it together. You're like, oh yeah, like this is a good team. And then they go to Houston, they lose Augusto Cassia, and they haven't won since.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's simply just losing Augusto, but I mean, they, like I said, they haven't won since he's been injured. So, I mean, it definitely, he covers up a lot of mistakes from the team. He's such a versatile defender that he can switch to a point guard and a center on the same possession. He's such a good help side defender that, if someone gets beat off the dribble, he can, erase the play at the basket. So, I mean, he's a versatile piece that they're missing, but they just simply haven't been playing well enough. Patrick McCaffrey, he's basically has to shoot 50% from 3 if they want to have a chance. Like I said, Jamil and Pierre Brooks have to score in 15 to 20 points a game if they want to be competitive, and they seem to be kind of figuring out the second team a little bit. I wrote about Bowden Kapke after Saturday's game. They seem to be finding something with Finley and Bowden in the second unit, but again, they moved Kobe King to the starting lineup, and he hasn't really played much better. So, and Andres Green he shows flashes where he looks like a dominant big man, and then he has large stretches where he's not, really just playing well. So it's just inconsistency and just all around struggle has really just kind of plagued this team throughout the season.
I mean, on Wednesday, they get Seton Hall coming to Hinkle Fieldhouse. Seton Hall, not particularly great either. I think they're 1-4 to start their Big East play, which is better than the 0-6 Butler is at the moment. But, I mean, a must win, right? I mean, I don't even know what are they playing for right now at this point, because you would imagine that they know that March is probably out of their reach already. And January 13th? So, I mean, how does Thad keep these guys motivated? Especially, like I said, you've got veteran players who came back specifically for this season, and the season looks lost with 2 months to go.
I mean, the kind of the glass half full kind of thinking would be they've played the toughest teams in the Big East. They played UConn, they played Marquette, they played St. John's. I mean, they probably realistically weren't expected to win those games anyway. You can't have the ugly losses, the Providence, and you can't give games away.
Or the North Dakota State and the Austin Peay. Like I can get like everyone like saying, oh, well, Butler, they shouldn't be in the Big East. The Big East is too hard for them. They lost at home to Austin Peay and North Dakota State. Like the Horizon League might even be hard for these guys at this point. That's the struggle that you see with this team, right? I know that's probably over exaggeration, but you lost at home to those 2 teams you can't blame the Big East for those losses.
No, yeah, the North Dakota State, but even heading into that game, they knew that game was going to be a trap game because North Dakota State, they're a mid-major on paper, but that's a really solid program when you come into Hinkle, you're going to get a team's best, performance. White had 6 threes in the first half.
But so you said they knew they were going to be and that it was a potential trap game. They were down by 20, right? Like off the jump. Wasn't that the game where they made this huge comeback, actually take the lead late and then give it away? So, I mean, like, you knew they were going to be good. You still let them come in your house, punch you in the mouth repeatedly. You woke up, you took the lead, and then I guess you thought the job was done, and they came back and take it away from you. So it's not good. That loss is probably worse than the Villanova loss, in my mind, because at least Villanova is decent, and they had a big lead, and they blew it, and then, they blew it. Like, that Villanova game was terrible, but that North Dakota loss just kind of set the tone, I feel like, for what this rest of the season has become.
I mean, again, Jakari White had the game of his life. I mean, he was making shots where I was just like, you just have to put your hands up and just shake your head. I think his career high was 6 threes for a game. He had 6 threes in a half. That is the type of performance that's the type of performance that Butler needs. That's what they were getting last year from a DJ Davis that they're not getting now. Those are the type of like I said, there's zero margin for error. And if Patrick McCaffrey isn't making 50% of his threes, if Pierre and Jamil aren't scoring 15 plus points, Butler doesn't really have a chance. So the formula is there, I think, for Butler to rebound. I don't think they're this bad. I mean, we'll see when they play DePaul, right? Because DePaul's been kind of the punching bag of the Big East for, a while. So if Butler is truly not, in the basement of the Big East, we'll see coming up. But, these were tough games, and I don't think they've quit. I've asked Dad, is your message still getting home to these guys? Like, are they tuning you out? And he said, no, they're great kids. They practice hard, but I don't like to, read too much on, social media, but a lot of people are like, yeah, you can have great kids that work hard, but if there's a talent deficit, it won't matter. And I don't think there's a talent deficit. Again, they have 2 all Big East players, but they need more from their guys. And I'm told Augusto's close to returning. I don't know what they can expect from Jamie Kaiser, if anything.
Forgot about Jamie Kaiser. I have forgotten about Jamie Kaiser. He was the shooter, right, that they were bringing in to replace DJ Davis, and hasn't played a minute yet.
Correct. So, this team doesn't look the way they thought it would. Again, Andre Screen probably shouldn't be asked to play 25 plus minutes a game, and Finley, I think the Finley at point guard experiment was a failure, but he's looked better in the second unit. He has that chemistry with Bowden Kapke where they kind of feed off each other. So they need pieces that can excel in their roles. And if those two can find a role, and, Landon Moore is kind of the defender, but he needs to knock down shots. He's kind of a negative on offense right now. So it's just tough when you're kind of you don't really need to be guarded at this point. So they just need to find players who can excel in their roles. And when Augusto comes back, he'll make it easier for other players on the team.
Yeah, you mentioned the failure at the point guard position, and like Bizjack is not a point guard. He's never been a point guard. Landon Moore, not a point guard. Colby King, not really a point guard. So and it's not like Posh Alexander left the week before the season started. There was plenty of time for Thad Matta to go into the portal and replace Posh Alexander. And I guess he thought he could turn 2 guards into point guards. And anytime Finley Bizjack leaves his feet to make a pass, it's a turnover. And almost every time he leaves his feet to throw a pass, it's a turnover. And you would think coaching, they would be coaching in that aspect of don't leave your feet. If you leave your feet, you got to know where the ball's going. You could set your clock to it that if he leaves his feet, he's about to throw it away to the other team, and it's going for a fast break points the other way. So I just don't know what he saw that said I could turn these guys into a point guard as a collective, even those 3 guys. You're not getting it. We thought Colby King, if he stepped into the starting lineup, things were going to maybe pick up because he was playing so well off the bench. You put him in the starting lineup, and that hasn't worked. And again, the ball's going to be in Jamil's hands. The ball's going to be in Pierre's hands, but you still need someone to run the offense. And I don't think he accounted for how much Posh did for them. And I mean, we all talk about Posh as a defender, a great perimeter defender, but he got guys in the right spot. He was a veteran point guard, and you can't just replace that with a sophomore who's never played the position. I mean, and it seems like and this is something you wrote, Greg wrote at the third game of the season. Like, it was obvious to see there is no point guard on this roster. How could everyone see it except for Thad?
I mean, I will admit that I thought Colby could be that player. I mean, he in terms of, athleticism, he's a high, level athlete that I thought they would have to look different. They'd have to play in more transition. You're right. He's not a typical floor general type player, but they need to score any way they can. So I thought pushing the tempo, trying to play up tempo, score in transition would be a positive. And that in the half court, he looks a little lost. But
yeah, point guard's a mindset. It's not, you can have all the athleticism you want, but point guard is a mindset. I've got to know I got to know where my shooter wants the ball, what pocket he wants it in, or how I'm going to move everybody, where I'm setting up my screens. Like, point guard is as much mental as it is physical. And if, like I said, like, it's not just something they can turn a switch and say, yeah, I'm going to play point this year. Like, if you haven't had any building blocks to that point, you're going to struggle. I mean, I'm not a coach. I am no basketball expert, far from it. Okay. But if I can see it, others had to.
Yes, but again, having the ball in Jamil's hand is not the worst formula. I mean, if that was what they were going to settle for, it's not the worst possible idea. So I think they thought they could, we'll have the ball in Jamil's hand, we'll have the ball in Pierre's hand, and we'll make do. But they're a player or so short. And again, is it Augusto? Is it Jamie Kaiser? Stink Robinson isn't coming until next year, and the roster will look a lot different. But he's one of those true point guard. I mean, when the story that I wrote on him, his former coach compared him to Mike Conley. So I mean, that's the type of guy that Butler needs right now. That's very high praise. And Jamil is not going to be that. Colby's not going to be that. But that's not the only problem with this team. If they get consistent performance up and down the roster, they'll have a much better chance. But right now, they haven't got consistent play from 4 players in a game since Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, the recruiting class looks great. That's in another 8 months. I mean, no one's calling for Thad's job right now, right? It's too early for that, you would imagine?
Am I listening to the vocal minority on social media? Because that was those calls.
They would be. Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to, right? You're in the midst of a 9-game losing streak. You're 0-6 in the Big East. Some of the games haven't been competitive. And again, like I said, you've lost to Austin Peay, you've lost to North Dakota State. There doesn't seem to be, besides that recruiting class that's coming next year, there doesn't seem to be a lot to hang your hat on and be excited about. So I could see why there would be that, but is it legitimate, or is it just wishful thinking by people who want a quick fix?
I mean, the obvious question is, who do they get to replace Thad? Who can they bring in a proven winner with head coaching experience? Do they want to go get a lower level guy that hasn't competed in the Big East? Because again, the Big Ten is a power conference, and Thad is kind of struggling right now. So how long would the adjustment period be from someone coming from a completely maybe lower level, or an assistant who's never been a head coach? So the grass isn't always greener, obviously. And again, this team looked really good on offense last year. The Creighton game against Creighton, they scored 90 points. It was one of the highest scoring Big East games in the history of the conference. So I was talking to David Woods, like, I don't know, maybe Jalen and Posh and DJ. Yeah, I guess they were more vital to the team than we realized. And, DJ is scoring, hitting 6 threes for Washington, and he's a big time player. That those players don't grow on trees. So, I mean, I guess the talent drain was more than we anticipated. And I don't know what Butler can do to replace them other than bring in the guys that they have, but that doesn't help them right now. So, it's looking darker.
So is it a personnel issue, or is it a leadership issue, or a combination of both?
Man, that's a very tough question. Again, like I said, when I asked Thad if he's getting through to his players, he said yes. So he thinks that they're executing the way they need to, but that he can't make the shots for them. And like I said, there's times in the game where you can tell the momentum is swinging. They'll get an open look in the corner and they miss it, and then it's just the deflation starts. So maybe, yeah, I think it's both. I think it goes hand in hand. If they're playing well, then it's easier to coach, and they're more positive and feeling confident. And this team seems to be lacking confidence right now, and I don't know what you can do to instill more confidence in the team other than breaking this loser streak. And yeah, again, I don't know when the Seton Hall is. Yeah, you're right. It's a must-win game at this point.
Yeah, if they don't beat Seton Hall at home, it has a chance to get ugly again, because then I think they go at UConn right after that game. And, from what we've seen from this team this year, they're not beating UConn at UConn. Even though they did play UConn okay at home, they still lost the game. And they're not going to UConn and getting a win there. So it's got a chance to get ugly here. And for a program that has built its reputation on March, those back-to-back national runner-up teams, not a lot of people around the country had heard about Butler until then. So March is where Butler made their name. Hell, man, they haven't been to the NCAA tournament in how many years? I mean, it doesn't look like, it ain't going to be this year.
To be fair, in 2020 or 2021,
we're going to give them the COVID year. We're going to give them the COVID year, just like we gave Archie Miller the COVID year.
Were ranked,
no, I know they were number 5. They got up to as high as number 5 in the country.
Correct. Yes, but that was under.
But then they lost all those games after that. Then they okay, but still. So again, if they go another March without NCAA tournament, how do you keep a momentum? Not just momentum within the players, but within a fan base. Because it's again, Butler basketball is what Butler has. It's their crown jewel. How do you keep people energized and engaged if they can't get them to March Madness, which is where they expect to be?
Yeah, it has to be in this recruiting class. Again, Jack McCaffrey, Stink Robinson, Jackson Keith. Those are, if you are to believe recruiting rankings, those are difference makers. And I mean, as long as Connor McCaffrey is on the staff, you would think Jack will end up here. So a coaching change won't help them get their best recruit. So I mean, the recruiting class is kind of what they have to hang their hat on. But I will say, enjoy Jamil and Pierre, because they're very talented players. You'd like to see them win, but I can appreciate watching Jamil play. Pierre, I can appreciate watching him play as well. So hopefully the winning starts, but that recruiting class would be what I could hang my hat on at this point.
All right. Well, we can't press the fast forward button. So we're going to live in the present, and the present is Wednesday's game at Hinkle Fieldhouse against Seton Hall, another struggling Big East team, a must-win for the Bulldogs. I mean, it's not a must-win in terms of saving their season or making March Madness. It's just a must-win in terms of showing a proof of concept that we know what we're doing, that we can win, as opposed to just because if they lose that one, I mean, and if Chris Holtman with the crummy DePaul finishes above Butler, there's I don't know what you have. You might be looking at a last place team in the Big East, and that's not good.
No.
All right. I'm sorry I couldn't be more positive and uplifting, but this is what 9 straight losses will do to you, right?
Yeah. I mean, before we go, I will say I was able to talk to Evan Haywood, the freshman from Carmel. He has a pretty good story, just kind of a hardworking kid who's overcome some adversity, who his time is in the future. He could almost be, looked at as a member of that incoming class. Just him and Colt Langdon are kind of the future of the program. So he has a good outlook on his life and his career. So he's someone I enjoy talking to, his dad and his coach. So that's something to look forward to. Look forward to that story.
Yeah, positive. there was a silver lining with Bowden Kapke's performance in the last game. So if you're looking for, and at this point, that's all you've got is looking for silver linings on these dark days. So yeah, sophomore big, stretched the floor, plays hard. There was some of that, but again, he's got limitations within, going up against Big East athletes all the time too. So it's just is what it is. All right. Sorry, Bulldogs fans, if we brought you down. Akeem's going to lift you up. they'll beat Seton Hall, right? They'll beat Seton Hall at home, and everything will be a little bit rosier until they lose by 30 at UConn. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
You said that, not me. I don't make predictions, so.
No, it's all right. This is my last week on colleges anyways, so I'll just go out with a blaze of glory.
There you go.
There you go. Yes, Akeem will have a new boss next week. So this is the last Dawg Talk with Macklin-esque. So I'm sorry if I went extra negative. If you don't like it, just deal with it for this last 20 minutes and then you're done. All right, Akeem. Be sure to follow Akeem on X. Oh, I called it X. I'm convert. At the Akeem Glassby. Are you on Blue Sky, Akeem?
I'm not. No, I'm adding
you're
more
barely
social.
on. Yeah, you're barely on X as it is, barely on Twitter. So, and which is fine. No, this is not. No, we're not having that conversation. But all right. So, Dawg Talk, Butler, 9-game losing streak. Hope not to make it 10. The record is 12. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. Set in 1980-81 season.
Okay. Great. Wow. None of us were born during that time. Not even me.
No. Wow.
Not even me. Yeah. So.
And you're old.
I am. Yeah. No, true. Sure. I'm older than I look is what people like to always say. But all right, Butler Bulldogs fans, hang your hat on Wednesday's game at Hinkle. Be there, cheer them on, get them to over the hump, and then who knows? Maybe a good ball rolls down the hill and picks up steam and momentum. I just don't see it. Thanks, Akeem.
See ya.